On our third anniversary dinner, Ethan came home with a pregnant woman and introduced her as the cousin he'd lost touch with years ago. Margaret jabbed a finger at my nose. "Barren hen, get your worthless self in there and bring your cousin a basin of warm water." I watched the three of them act like a perfect little family and smiled. They had no idea I was the majority shareholder of the listed company Ethan bragged about. As for the mega project he kept crowing over, I could bankrupt him with the crook of one finger. Today was our third anniversary dinner. I'd left the office early and detoured to the market for the shrimp and ribs Ethan loved. The moment I stepped inside, I spotted a pair of red stilettos in the entry, definitely not mine. Laughter floated from the living room, Margaret's brassy cackle slicing clean through the walls. "Oh, my sweet grandbaby, look at that pointed belly, sure sign it's a boy." "Mom, lower your voice, you'll scare Luna." That was Ethan, gentle, tender, a tone he rarely used with me anymore. I hovered in the foyer, plastic grocery bags cutting into my palms. I exhaled, swapped my heels for slippers, and walked in. On the couch, a pretty young woman nestled against Ethan, feeding him orange segments. Margaret sat beside them, beaming at the girl's belly as if it were already a cradle. They looked exactly like a family of three. I felt like the uninvited guest. "Back already?" Ethan's grin froze when he saw me, but he didn't push the woman away. Margaret rolled her eyes. "So you finally remembered to come home? Starving your elders, what time is it?" I set the groceries on the dining table and turned to the stranger. "And this is?" Ethan stood, smoothing his shirt, utterly unruffled. "This is Luna, my distant cousin. Her family hit some rough luck, so she's staying with us. She's pregnant, not feeling great, and she'll be living here from now on." Cousin. In 3 years of marriage I'd never heard of a cousin surnamed Sinclair. Luna rose, gave me a honey-sweet smile, eyes glinting with challenge. "Hello, Sophia. My cousin's always saying how domestic you are." She stretched the word domestic until it sounded like an insult. My gaze flicked to the gentle swell under her sweater. Everything was crystal clear. "Some cousin, more like flowers potted inside for easy watering. If she's family, she can take the guest room," I said coolly and turned toward the kitchen. "No." Margaret slammed the coffee table so hard the teacups jumped. "That room faces north, evil drafts for a pregnant girl. Luna gets the master suite. You move to the guest room." I stared at Ethan, stunned. "Ethan, is this what you want too?" He avoided my eyes, flicking his hand as if shooing a fly. "Mom's right. Luna's health is fragile, she needs sunlight. You're the older sister-in-law, why can't you yield for once? Besides, your belly's done nothing for 3 years. Hogging the master suite is bad feng shui." Margaret spat, droplets of tea flying. "Exactly. A hen that won't lay still occupies the roost. My son's too soft, any other man would have divorced you ages ago." Too soft. I almost laughed out loud. When Ethan's first startup collapsed under debt, whose dowry patched the holes, who shared a basement, survived on instant noodles, and held his hand through the worst. Now that his company had gone public and his net worth soared, the original wife had become an embarrassment. He seemed to forget I'd hidden my identity so he could chase his dreams without pressure. He thought I was an orphaned nobody. In fact, I'm the only daughter of the Vance family, the top dynasty in the capital. The angel investor behind his precious sterling dynamics is my private fund. Staring at their 3 greedy faces, the last flicker of warmth in my heart died. "Fine." I looked straight at Ethan, a slow, cryptic smile curving my lips. "If cousin Luna is so delicate, she can have the master suite." Ethan blinked, surprised by my quick surrender, then swelled with triumph. He probably assumed I was still the obedient housewife who couldn't breathe without him. "That's my girl. Make something meaty for dinner, Luna needs nutrition." With that he guided Luna toward the master suite, once our bridal chamber. The moment the door shut, I caught her syrupy giggle through the panels. "Cousin, your wife's such a pushover. Does that mean I'll run this house from now on? Sweetheart, give me a son and you can have the moon." I stayed in the living room, eyes on that closed door, while pulling out my phone. On the screen glowed an unread text from Charles, my family's discreet steward. "Jamie, Sterling Dynamics Series C term sheet is in your inbox. Mr. Sterling keeps pushing, wants to know when you'll countersign." I typed 2 letters back, pull. The dinner table felt like a morgue. I'd cooked a feast, every dish Ethan favored. Only Luna and Margaret lifted their chopsticks. Ethan kept scrolling his phone, face darkening. I knew Charles worked fast. By now the CFO would have received notice that our fund was yanking every dollar. Sophia, these shrimp taste fishy, didn't you know pregnant women have sensitive palates? Luna took one bite, grimaced, and flicked the half-chewed morsel onto the tablecloth. Margaret instantly slammed her own chopsticks down. Sophia, trying to poison my grandbaby? Can't even handle shrimp, utter trash. I sipped my soup, unhurried, without lifting my gaze. Fishy. Those are wild scarlet shrimp air-freighted from Maine, one piece costs more than your lunch. If a sow can't appreciate truffles, blame the sow. The air congealed. Luna's cheeks cycled crimson and white. Margaret gaped as if I'd sprouted horns. In the past I'd swallowed every insult for the sake of peace. Tonight my claws were out. Watch your mouth, that's my mother you're talking to. Ethan finally surfaced from his screen, furious. Recent mood swings, Sophia? Luna's a guest and pregnant, could you try acting like an adult? Adult. I set my bowl down and met his glare. Need reminding? I paid the down payment on this penthouse, and I still service the mortgage. You move your mistress in, exile me to the guest room, and expect gracious hospitality. She is not my mistress, she's family. His roar rang hollow. Family? A DNA test could settle that in a day. I smiled, eyes pinning Luna. She went wax pale, arms folding protectively over her belly while she shrank against Ethan. Cousin, does she hate me that much? Fine, I'll leave, my baby and I are obviously unwanted. Classic retreat as advance. Margaret cooed and hugged her, then glowered at me. Leave. Over my dead body. This is my son's home if anyone leaves. It's the barren hag. Sophia, apologize, now. Ethan pounded the table so hard the silverware jumped. Apologize. I rose slowly, looking down at him. A CEO's authority crackled around me, the presence he'd never noticed. Ethan reflexively leaned back. Think carefully, Ethan. Every time your company's cash flow flatlined, who kept it breathing? His expression faltered. He'd assumed borrowed money from distant relatives or lottery luck, never suspecting me. In his world I was Cling Ivy, incapable of surviving alone. Throwing old favors at me? Listen, I'm a listed company CEO worth 9 figures. That petty cash you chipped in? I'll repay it with one phone call. He yanked a bank card from his wallet and hurled it onto the table. 50 grand, take it, and stop playing the martyr. 50 grand, pocket change. I laughed. Generous, Mr. Sterling. Are you certain your cash flow is still healthy? His forehead creased. What are you implying? Right on cue his phone rang, Vice President calling. He picked up, face draining to chalk. What? The lead investor wants out. Why? Triple damages to walk? Even the bank froze the credit line? We just got approval this morning. His hand shook, sweat beaded his temples. I sat across from him, gracefully picking up a rib with my chopsticks and slipping it between my lips. Not bad. Watching Ethan squirm made the rib taste even better. Luna and Margaret couldn't follow the financial jargon, but they knew something catastrophic had happened. They exchanged glances, too scared to speak. Ethan ended the call and slumped in his chair like every ounce of strength had been vacuumed out of him. Sterling Dynamics had gone public, but it had overreached, propped up by a handful of massive funding rounds. The moment those investors pull the funding and the capital chain snaps, the dominoes will fall. Chapter could happen overnight. Ethan, what's wrong? Luna asked cautiously. Ethan raked his fingers through his hair in frustration. The company's hit a snag, money trouble. He jerked his head up, eyes narrowed in suspicion. Sophia, what did you mean just now? What do you know? I plucked a napkin and dabbed the corners of my mouth. What could I possibly know? I'm just a housewife who can't even cook wild properly. I stood, handbag in hand. Since the 3 of you are having your little reunion, I won't intrude. I'll stay in a hotel for a few days. Stop right there. Margaret suddenly rushed over to block me. You think you can walk out? Hand over the family passbook. My son's company is in crisis. As his wife, you'll fork over the cash. Looking at that greedy face made me nauseous. Passbook. Sorry, I don't save. Every dollar I had went into this house, into your son. Bull. All those clothes and bags you buy, of course you've stashed cash. Let me search. Margaret lunged for my purse. Luna fanned the flames. Come on, sis, your husband's struggling. Don't hoard, husband and wife should share. I gave a cold laugh, flicked my wrist, and easily dodged Margaret's claws. Then I shoved back. Margaret yelped and landed on her butt, wailing to the heavens. She hit me. The daughter-in-law beat Margaret. There's no justice. Ethan ran to lift her up, then swung his hand to slap me. Sophia, have you lost it? Before the blow landed, I locked his wrist. I'd trained in kickboxing, rust had gathered, but against a man hollowed by booze and women, I was more than enough. Ethan, if that hand comes down, we're truly finished. My stare was ice. Ethan froze, arm hovering, afraid to move. Get lost. I flung his hand away and strode out. Behind me, Margaret cursed and Luna pretended to comfort her. Outside the complex, the night breeze was cool. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom waited at the curb. The window slid down, revealing Charles's steady face. Miss, it's set. Sterling Dynamics opens at limit down tomorrow. I opened the door, sank into the back seat, and shut my eyes. Charles, draft a divorce petition. The kind that leaves them to walk away with nothing. In the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel, I finally slept like the dead. Next morning, my phone exploded with calls. Dozens of missed calls, all from Ethan. WhatsApp showed 99 plus unread. Sophia, where are you? Come home. Mom's blood pressure spiked. Hurry back and care for her. Why are our cards frozen? I can't pay for anything. Stop this, Sophia. Luna wants your century egg and pork congee. Get home and cook. I almost laughed. He still didn't get it. Before leaving, I'd cancelled every supplementary card. All of them were tied to my primary account. To spare his pride, I'd told him they were attached to his salary card. In truth, his paycheck couldn't even cover the mortgage. 4 years, household expenses, Margaret's medical bills, Ethan's designer suits, even Luna's luxury haul all came from me. Now the tap was off. Let's see how long they last without my worthless blood transfusion. I got up lazily, ordered an elegant breakfast, and opened my stock app while I ate. Sure enough, Sterling Dynamics opened at limit down. Every financial outlet screamed about investors pulling the funding. #Sterling Dynamics Trust Crisis # Mystery Beauty CEO Sophia suspected of pulling funding # Wait, Beauty CEO Sophia? I frowned and tapped the article. Charles had leaked a hint that the mystery backer was a Ms. Vance. No photo. Someone of Ethan's tier could never reach the inner investment circle. He only knew the fund as Vance. He'd never dream Vance was an acronym of my mother's name. After breakfast, I applied flawless makeup and stepped into a sharp, custom power suit. In the mirror stood a woman radiating authority, eyes razor sharp. This was the real Sophia. The housewife slaving over a stove was dead. As I reached the office tower, Ethan's car was out front. He wore a wrinkled shirt, Avery stubble, haggard face. Beside him Luna clutched a thermos, looking pitiful. What were they doing here? Right, his company sat across the plaza in the opposite tower. Mr. Sterling, don't panic. Beg the investors, maybe there's still hope. Luna cooed. Ethan dragged on a cigarette. Beg my ass. Can't even get a meeting, those Vance snobs. I slipped on sunglasses and aimed for the side entrance. Luna's sharp eyes spotted me. Sister-in-law? What are you doing here? Ethan spun around, stared at my outfit, stunned. Sophia. Where did you get those clothes? Knockoffs. He looked me up and down, disbelief plastered over his face. My suit was Italian bespoke, 6 figures. In his world, I deserved only discount bin fast fashion. None of your business. I took a step. Ethan blocked me. Perfect. Hand over whatever cash you've got, company needs it, and get home and apologize to Mom you made her sick. Luna chimed in, yeah, sis. He's in crisis and you're blowing money on fake designer, so vain. I stared at the 2 clowns, speechless. Move. I won't. No money, no pass. He reached for my arm. Instantly, black-suited bodyguards swarmed, pinning him to the pavement. Let go. I'm the CEO of Sterling Dynamics. He flailed like a plucked chicken. Luna shrieked. The thermos hit the ground, kanji splattering. Miss, are you all right? Charles emerged from the lobby and stood beside me, deferential. Ethan craned his neck, eyes bugging at the sight of Charles treating me with respect. Miss, he looked from Charles to me, shock and confusion battling on his face. You two know each other? Charles gave him a glacial glance. Mr. Sterling, watch your tone. Before you stands the chairwoman of Vance Capital Emery. Boom, those words detonated over Ethan like a thunderclap. His jaw dropped and stayed there. Vance Capital? Chairwoman? Sophia? You're Sophia? Impossible. You were an orphan, a housewife. Luna sat frozen on the sidewalk, trembling. I slid off my sunglasses and looked down at the wreckage that was Ethan, a cruel smile curving my lips. Ethan, let's reintroduce ourselves. I'm Sophia, the woman who can make you, or unmake you, your angel investor daddy. Ethan was completely dumbstruck. He lay sprawled on the ground, the pricey wool of his suit trousers now streaked with grey dust, looking like a cur that had lost its home. Office workers on their lunch break had formed a loose ring around us, fingers wagging. Isn't that the CEO of Sterling Dynamics? Why's he kissing the pavement? Who's the woman? The aura on her ice cold. Word is she owns Vance Capital. My God, that young. Every whisper was a needle in his ear. Ethan's face flushed purple. He tried to push up, but the bodyguard's palm kept him pinned. Sophia, you've been playing me. All 3 years, one long sick joke? He screamed it, sclera veined red, fury outweighed only by raw terror. If I really was the chairwoman of Vance, every boast he'd strutted in front of me, every cock of the walk smirk, had made him the clown of Wall Street. Worse, his company's jugular was clamped between my manicured fingers. I lifted a hand. The bodyguard stepped back. Ethan scrambled upright, slapping uselessly at the dust, trying to scrape together the last shards of dignity. Fine, Sophia. Deep cover, very cute. He spat the words, eyes venomous. Since you're the money, perfect, write the check. 200 million, no, 5. Then I'll magnanimously forgive the deception. His shamelessness almost made me laugh. Still begging for cash. Still forgiving me. Ethan, did seawater flood your brain? I closed the distance. The click of my Louboutins sounded like rounds chambered. The pull the funding order, my signature. The credit freeze, my call to the bank. Your so-called partners only took your meetings because I let them. And now you expect me to pump fresh capital? I stopped inches from him, looking down as though he were an ant. On what grounds? Your monumental ego? Or your talent for adultery? At the word adultery, Luna shuddered and tried to melt behind Ethan. His face turned the color of wet cement. A man has fun, so what? I never filed for divorce. Behave, wire the money, and you'll keep the Mrs. Sterling throne. Luna's nothing. After she drops the kid, I'll ship her off. Satisfied? Crack. My palm landed with everything I had. Ethan reeled, a crimson welt blooming across his cheekbone. Sophia, you hit me. That's what a conceited man gets. I flexed my tingling fingers, voice glacial. Let me clarify. I'm not refusing divorce, you're unqualified to negotiate. From my beerkin I yanked a folder and flung it, pages snowflaked across the marble. Divorce petition on top, the rest a thick stack of exhibits. Wire transfers you funneled to Luna, every cent. Phony ledgers, cooked books, unpaid taxes, documented. Plus the lobby video of you assaulting me 10 seconds ago. Each sentence bleached more color from his face until even his lips looked chalky. You'd planned this all along. The moment you dragged those trash shoes into our apartment, I started the clock. Luna sobbed, Cousin Ethan, what do we do? I don't want jail. Ethan ignored her. He dropped to his knees and hugged my thighs like a life raft. Wife, Sophia, I was wrong, so wrong. Lard for brains, this witch seduced me. I love only you. Spare me, for our 3 years. Don't pull the money, please. The mighty CEO who'd strutted minutes earlier now knelt bawling irony at its purest. I shook him off as though he were gum on my heel. Charles, escort them out. Then tell legal to file embezzlement and commercial fraud. I want every dime he swallowed repaid with interest. Ethan slumped, eyes vacant. He knew the score. Sterling Dynamics was carrion, his life a busted elevator in free fall. I turned away and strode through the revolving doors into the tower that bore my name. Sunlight poured over my shoulders, warm as victory. The sweetness of revenge peaked, but this was only the opener. I would watch their entire clan witness their world atomize, one asset at a time. I stepped out of the elevator into my office suite, Charles already waiting. Sophia, Ethan's mother, is creating a scene downstairs demanding to see you. Security didn't stop her. They tried, he said delicately. She's lying across the entrance, threatening to crack her skull on the glass if you refuse. I moved to the floor-to-ceiling window. Below, Margaret sprawled across the revolving door's base, slapping her thighs between howls. A ring of bystanders recorded on phones. No justice. Daughter-in-law gets rich and tosses an old widow aside. Tell me, people who raised her husband? Me alone. Her cardboard sign read in shaky marker, Sophia, ingrate who abandons elders. Wheel her upstairs, I said, sipping my espresso. 5 minutes. Not 1 second more. 5 minutes later the guards half-carried Margaret into the boardroom. Dust from the lobby streaked her silk blouse, her perm had frizzed into a hen's nest. She collapsed to her knees the instant she saw me, her patella far softer than her son's. Sophia, my good girl. She tried to crab walk forward and grab my ankle. A bodyguard blocked with one shoe. Don't touch me, filthy. I leaned back, disgust curling my lip. Margaret froze, then wailed louder. I was blind. I let that vixen cross the threshold. Forgive me, please. From now on you're the daughter I never had. She slapped herself twice, sound effects heavy, cheeks barely pink. Amateur. Funny, I sneered. You called me barren hen, good for nothing, jinx, strange endearments for a daughter. Her mouth twitched, she forced a grin like cracked porcelain. That witch Luna poisoned my mind. A moment of senility. Besides, don't all men stray? Be magnanimous and life goes on. Zai realizes his error. Put the money back and we're one happy photo again. Still dreaming an apology and sob story would reload the ATM. Happy photo? I tossed a folder. Paper waterfalls cascaded across the carpet. 3 years of your executive physicals, 480,000. MedSpa account top-ups, 620,000. Gold bangles and jade bracelets I gifted, 1.2 million. With every figure her complexion grayed. I paid every cent. Your son's salary couldn't cover one box of bird's nest for you. I rose and stared down. Now you chant harmony while you sucked me dry, cheered your son's affair, expected me to nurse his mistress through confinement. Are you even worth the oxygen? Margaret sat crushed, lips trembling. The soft punching bag she despised had turned out to be a gold ingot she could never afford. Sophia. Mom truly knows fault. Her voice was mosquito small, the Street Fighter bray gone. Too late. I pressed the intercom. Charles, NYPD, extortion rap, amount extraordinary. Margaret's soul seemed to rocket out of her body. I didn't. Not extortion. You demanded 5 million for elder support in the lobby, what else is it? The guards hoisted the dazed woman and dragged her out. Her shriek echoed down the corridor. Sophia, you'll die ugly. Heaven will punish you. Retribution? I sipped my coffee, blowing steam. My punishment was once marrying into the Sterling family at all. Margaret had barely been escorted out when Luna showed up. This time she didn't dare come to my office. Instead she stationed herself outside my hotel room door. She wept like a broken-hearted actress, far more professional than Margaret. Jamie, no, Rowan. She cradled her belly with one hand and leaned against the wall as though a breeze could topple her. I know I have no face to see you, but the child is innocent. Please, for the baby's sake, give us a way to live. I swiped the door open without looking back. Come in and talk. So you can't later claim I bullied a pregnant woman. A flicker of glee crossed Luna's eyes. She hurried inside. She assumed that as long as the bump was in the room I'd pull my punches. After all, this was supposedly Ethan's seed. Sit. I pointed to the sofa and took the opposite chair. Luna perched carefully, arms shielding her belly, and the performance began. Rowan, I'm not asking for status, only that my cousin Ethan give the child some support. He's the father. You can't bear to see your own flesh and blood homeless, right? 2 bright tears rolled, deeply felt. My price isn't high, 10 million, no, 5. I'll take the baby and vanish. You'll never see us again. 5 million. Healthy appetite. I idly spun my fountain pen and asked, Luna, how many months along are you? She blinked. 4 months. 4. I smiled, pulled a file from the drawer, and tossed it at her. Then explain this ultrasound report from 3 months ago. Luna's face bleached white. The paper stated clearly, intrauterine pregnancy, 13 weeks. 3 months ago she was already pregnant when Ethan had been overseas for the entire month. The dates were impossible. I miscalculated, maybe 5 months, she stammered, cold sweat threading down her temples. Miscalculated? I threw a photograph. It showed Luna kissing a balding man outside a hotel 4 months ago. The man was Harold, CEO of Grand Tech and Ethan's biggest rival. Shall we invite Harold in to compare stories? Or order a paternity amnio to settle the DNA? Luna shook, ash-grey. She had plotted everything except that I had already excavated her grave. You knew all along. From the moment you stepped into my house. I rose, closed the distance, and pinched her chin. You parade another man's bastard and try to extort the Vance family. Who gave you the nerve? Her defenses collapsed. She dropped to her knees, all pretense of fragility gone, only terror left. Rowan, I was wrong. The baby is Harold's. He forced me, promised 2 million if I pinned it on Ethan. I had no choice. Mucus and tears fused on her face. That idiot Ethan couldn't even tell whose child it was and dreamed I'd bear him a son. He doesn't deserve to lick my shoes. I flung her chin away and wiped my fingers with a tissue. Call Harold. Tell him, either he drags his woman and spawn back, or I hand Grand Tech's tax fraud file to the feds. Let him choose. Luna sagged, finished. She knew Harold would sacrifice her in a heartbeat. And Ethan. I remembered him on his knees swearing he'd send the baby away once it was born. How ironic. He thought he was juggling 2 women. In truth, he was just the punchline on someone else's board. Charles, see her out. From now on, keep stray curs off my carpet. As she was dragged off, her eyes were venomous snakes. But snakes with broken fangs. The door shut. The world went quiet. I walked to the window and gazed at the city lights. My phone buzzed, a message from Charles. Ethan just learned the kid isn't his. He's trashing his office. Building security called the cops. Grand Tech's Harold is begging for mercy, offers to exile Luna permanently. I replied with 2 words, too late. The game had only begun. Ethan, next we audit the rot inside your precious sterling dynamics. I'll make you watch while I dismantle it bone by bone. 2 a.m., Charles's call jerked me awake. Miss, Ethan's been arrested. I blinked. Already? Not our doing, he said, amused. In holding he assaulted his cellmate, critical injuries. It's now a felony. I was instantly alert. Ethan, digging your own grave, how efficient. Details. While waiting for interrogation he shared a cell with Grand Tech's Harold. Words flew. Ethan stabbed Harold's eye with a plastic spoon. I burst out laughing. A plastic spoon, how much hatred must you feel? Harold's blind in one eye. The King family vows Ethan will rot. Plus, the tax files you handed the task force are officially a case. Stacked charges, minimum 10 years. 10 years. I hung up and stood at the window. Ink black sky, neon still bleeding below. 10 years ago Ethan and I ate instant noodles in a basement while he vowed, Sophia, when I make it, I'll buy you the biggest house, the fastest car. Now he'll get a 6x8 cell and a sewing machine. Poetic justice. At 9 the next morning I strolled into the Financial Crimes Bureau. Not to bail him out, to assist inquiries. During my statement I casually mentioned Ethan had siphoned company funds into private gambling debts, 8-figure territory. The detective's pupils dilated. Ethan would never breathe free again. Outside, sunlight knifed across the courthouse steps. I slid on my sunglasses, someone tugged my jacket. Jordan, Ethan's once arrogant assistant, now Avery, gaunt and unshaven. Rowan, please save the boss. He dropped to his knees, pedestrians gawking. He's sorry, he wrote this apology. A crumpled sheet, Ethan's crooked scrawl. Sophia, I really love you, they set me up. For 3 years of marriage, get me out and I'll be your slave. Ink blurred, tears or sweat, who cares? Marriage favor? I accepted the letter, tore it into confetti, and let the scraps snow over his head. Tell Ethan I recorded every debt of these 3 years. He'll repay with a life not worth living. Jordan collapsed, final hope extinguished. 1 week later, Sterling Dynamics filed for Chapter 7. I bought the shell for 1% of its peak valuation, pocket change for the empire I had seeded. At the signing I wore scarlet, celebration, the color of weddings. Except today I walked down the aisle to marry Ethan's dreams and strangle them. Inside the tower, employees shivered. I entered the boardroom, every executive who had snickered at Riley and Cameron stared at the table. Ladies and gentlemen, I rapped the polished oak. Effective immediately, Sterling Dynamics becomes Vance Innovations and I am your sole owner. Item 1. My gaze swept the room. Everyone except core engineers is terminated. HR. Process severance at N+1. I want these desks empty in 30 minutes. The room detonated. Rowan, we were wrong. We were forced into it back then. Rowan, give us one more chance. Rowan, I've followed Ethan for 5 years. No credit, but plenty of hard work. I tuned them out and glanced at my watch. 29 minutes left. For every minute over, the payout drops by half. Instantly, everyone bolted. Total chaos. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the figures below clutch packing boxes, my pulse flat. This isn't cruelty. This is business. Winners take all, losers walk, always been that way. That afternoon Ethan made bail. Released on bond, temporary only. He hurried back to the office to grab some personal items. Security blocked him. Sorry, Mr. Sterling, you're no longer an employee. No clearance. Ethan froze. I'm the CEO. The founder. This company is mine. He roared, eyes bloodshot, a cornered animal. The guard looked coldly at him and produced my order per Rowan's instructions. Every item in this building belongs to Vance Capital. That includes the suit on your back. If it was bought with company money, take it off. Ethan snapped. He lunged like a madman and was pinned to the floor. Just then the elevator doors slid open and I stepped out. My stilettos clicked across the marble. Ethan lifted his head, the madness in his eyes flipped to begging. Sophia, you came. He crawled toward my legs, arms out. I sidestepped. Mr. Sterling, maintain some dignity. Right now you're not even qualified to touch me. I pulled a folder and slapped it onto his face. Share purchase agreement, already signed and thumbprinted. From this moment, every share you held in Sterling Dynamics belongs to me. Additionally, your personal debt to the company stands at $37 million, 1 month to repay. Or I file for court-ordered asset seizure. His hands shook so hard the pages rattled. No, impossible. When did I sign this? Forgotten already? I smiled. 3 years ago, after your startup tanked, you pawned everything. To reassure me, you signed an unlimited personal guarantee contract. You called it proof of love. Today it's your bill of sale. Memory hit him. He'd been drowning. I'd used my dowry to bail him out. Tears in his eyes, he'd scribbled anything I asked. He thought the papers were love tokens. In reality, I'd paved my exit from day one. Sophia, you venomous. He slumped, hollow-eyed. Goodbye, Ethan. Over my shoulder I tossed the final line. By the way, the villa you live in? I bought it too. Be out by midnight, or I'll send movers, forcibly. News that Ethan was homeless reached me next morning. He'd holed up in Margaret's cramped walk-up, the very unit I'd once bought to show filial respect. The deed carried only Margaret's name, now it was their last foxhole. I hadn't expected the dog-eat-dog spectacle Charles S. video delivered. On screen, Margaret and Luna were clawing each other. It's all your fault, slut. You jailed my son and ruined the Sterlings. Margaret slammed Luna's head against the wall, fistfuls of hair in her grip. Luna, no pushover, kneed Margaret in the patella, belly leading. Old hag. Your idiot boy dug his own grave. Greed dug it deeper. Dreaming I'd birth you a grandson? Keep dreaming, your gene pool's a joke. Ethan crouched in the corner, head buried, mute. Avery, cheeks sunken, nothing left of the swaggering CEO. A vagrant pushing 50. Neighbors finally called 911. When officers arrived, Margaret was choking Luna, shrieking about dying together. Both were hauled to the precinct. Ethan stayed alone in the bleak room, wind howling outside that was the sound of despair. 3 days later the circus topped itself. Harold's legal wife cornered Luna with a dozen bodybuilder goons. Lady King, notorious tigress. In front of cops she slapped Luna a dozen times. You dared seduce my Harold? Thought a bastard would slice our fortune? Beat her till it slips out. Bedlam. By the time police separated them, Luna was spotting blood. The child couldn't be saved. Worse, Mrs. King pulled strings and had Luna booked on an extortion rap. Before lockup, Luna dialed Ethan like crazy. He let every call die. Save himself? He couldn't even spell the word. Margaret didn't fare better. Indicted for extortion and assault. My evidence pile ensured 3 to 5. Ethan, he ran. Skipped town before the court order. Last 10 grand in pocket. Charles asked, track him? I shook my head. Let him run. The farther the sweeter, taste real ruin. When he's broken and out of ammo he'll crawl back on his own. 3 months. My new company, Vance Innovations, IPO'd, valuation up tenfold. Magazines branded me Invisible Queen, from housewife to empire maker. A rookie reporter closed the interview. Rowan, any final words on your marriage? I thought, then smiled. Thank you, ex-husband, for teaching me. Never feed your beating heart to a dog that can't taste it. That night a burner text pinged Sophia. I'm in Myanmar, chaos, I'm scared. Wire me 5 grand, just once, and I vanish. Ethan. Word was he'd been trafficked into a scam compound, escaped broke, couldn't even buy a ticket home. I typed 1 letter, scram. Blocked, deleted, done. Evening, gala time. Champagne, gowns, polite predators. I breathed on the terrace when a man stepped over. Tall, profile chiseled, Lucas. Crown Prince of Hawthorne Group and tonight's host. Rowan, alone, his voice low, velvet. Careful, Lucas, or people will gossip, I teased, swirling my glass. He laughed, eyes warm as spring wind. May I steal a dance? Discuss a deal? Or, he leaned in, cedar and spice brushing my senses, compare philosophies of life. I flashed back to the girl I'd been, believing love meant total surrender. I know better now, love is a match of equals, a board where both players have queens. Lead the way. I placed my hand in his. My rate, however, is brutal. Convenient. His grip tightened, gaze blazing. I'm rich in cash, and poor in a rival who makes my pulse race. Music swelled, we glided into the waltz. Lights glittered, perfume clouded the air. Somewhere in a dim basement Ethan was trading fists for a single cup of instant noodles. He'd never know, and never deserved to know, the treasure he'd lost. Epilogue. 6 months later border police nabbed Ethan and deported him. 15 years after sentencing. I skipped the hearing. Charles relayed that Ethan wept, begging to see me. I sent a message. Ethan, behave inside, maybe they'll cut a year or 2. Because when you get out you still owe me 37 million. He fainted on the spot. Margaret had a stroke in prison, half paralyzed. Luna, post-release and reputation shredded, ended up working a back-alley massage parlor upstate. Me, I'm on a Maldivian sandbar, sunrise spilling gold across the water, Lucas's arms circling my waist. What's on your mind? He murmurs. I settle against him, watching the horizon catch fire. That the breeze this morning, I answer, is ridiculously gentle.